Hey everyone, I apologize for starting this late. I actually messed up time zones. I was convinced that I was on mountain time, and turned out I got to my destination and it turned out that I'm actually mountain time, and so I apologize. Um I already see a number of emails came in saying that you're waiting for it. So all right. Hopefully I can still catch some of you, and I am going to be doing a couple more of those live questions and answers to help you decide which product is right from us, and especially now during Black Friday that we're doing such a big sale, the biggest sale of the year, the biggest discount that you will happening right when I personally I think it's more like my own imagination. Whenever I say I show up at a certain time, I just absolutely hate it when I don't show up on time. And so anyway, my apologies again. Moving on. um let's um so let's do open questions and answers. Ask me anything. We have Black Friday that just kicked off yesterday, and or today, I should say. Actually, it had kicked off today. And we're doing 25% off, and then it's free shipping regardless of how small or large the order is. And this does only include the United States. For Canada, we are still giving you 25% off, but you do have to pay shipping. And then with the different purchase points, we are giving you a whole bunch of wonderful guides. And let me just pull out the list of guides here so that you know what they are. And I think you're gonna like them. So the guides are things like better sleep in perimenopause, perimenopause and menopause superfoods. Then we have one that is liver supported menopause transition, lab testing in perimenopause and postmenopause, symptoms and supplements mapper. So which symptom maps what supplements can potentially help. And then for those of you who are buying for $250 and above, we have an $8 gift card towards my book on Amazon as well. That's for United States. So quite a nice deal. And we typically don't discount so deeply. This is the first time. I shouldn't say first time. This is the only time in a year that we're doing as much as 25% off, plus the free shipping, and plus all the bonuses that you get depending on how much is the card value. All right, so today I want to take your questions and see how I can help. So wherever you're watching, just post your comments in your comments. In the comments, just post your question and I will get to it. So one of the big questions that we often get is, hey, you've got all these different types of magnesium in your store. Which one should I be using? And I'm just going to create a quick banner about it. And so I'm curious, like, is this something that you're struggling with to know what to use? So magnesium is an interesting substance because there's certain characteristics that all magnesium has, such as, for example, the fact that it helps you relax, it helps the liver function. It's used by a lot of different metabolic processes in the body, and so you basically can't really function without magnesium, yet so many of us are deficient. And so one of the most interesting deficiencies of magnesium, how it manifests, is through cravings. So guess what? Craving chocolate is actually a sign of magnesium deficiency. And so many women, like how chocolate is our best friend kind of a thing. Well, a lot of it can stem from the fact that it is a magnesium deficiency. So you know it. So now, which magnesium do you start off with, right? So there's different types of magnesium. My personal favorite is magnesium glycinate, just because it is the most bioavailable glycinate. Number two is that it does not cause any digestive issues. It works a lot faster. You can take it at night. It helps you to calm down. It helps with things like leg cramps. So it's like all around great type of magnesium. In higher amounts can also help you with constipation. It can help you calm down. So not a full-on anxiety, but just like calming you down. so just all around great magnesium, but I love the fact that it's so highly bioavailable. So that means that whatever you're taking, most of it your body is going to absorb and use. My second type of favorite form of magnesium, and so we have that magnesium in our store. It's called Magnesium Replenish. And not surprisingly, it's also our number one selling product. Number two type of magnesium is malate, magnesium malate, which is great, but for some people it's only meant to be in the morning because it can be energizing. For example, I cannot take magnesium malate at night because I'm gonna be up until 3 o'clock in the morning doing word puzzles, because it just keeps me that alert. So, but then other people can go to sleep with it. Another very great form of magnesium, highly bioavailable. A lot of women who do sports also feel like they can have a great recovery with magnesium malate. So in our store we call it magnesium mag energy. And then, another type of magnesium which is decent, magnesium citrate, is a form of magnesium that helps you to go to the bathroom. If you want to have balanced hormones, you've got to have regular bowel movement without constipation. Constipation is going to make you recycle all the toxins back into the body, taxing your liver. When the liver is not operating optimally, it's going to impact your hormones too. So magnesium citrate can help create that bowel movement. For example, a lot of people, like especially now going into Thanksgiving, some of you are going to be traveling, you might be experiencing constipation. Just get magnesium citrate. It's going to help you go again. In our store, we call it the Magnesium Citrate Plus because it also contains a couple of Ayurvedic herbs in it that helps to bulk up the stool and evacuate a lot easier. Magnesium citrate is not my favorite form of magnesium that helps you to replenish magnesium levels. If you are like craving that chocolate, it's not going to be the type of magnesium that helps you to replenish quickly. It's just not super bioavailable, and it pulls a lot of the water out of the large intestine, and so it can help. It can make you dehydrated if you don't drink enough water, so that it can create that stool and evacuate, right? So, and then we also have another form of magnesium, which is a topical magnesium. We use magnesium chloride in that case, which is Epsom salt baths. That's another type of magnesium called magnesium sulfate, which is a great form of magnesium that your body can absorb from outside. So, especially for those of you who have a lot of digestive issues and you rather prefer something topical, then we have something called quick magnesium, which is you apply it on, for example, if you're going to sleep at night, you have a lot of cramps in your legs, very common. Another symptom of potential magnesium deficiency could also be potassium. And then applying that magnesium topically on the leg can really help a lot and be a wonderful solution. So, yeah. So I hope that answers the questions about a lot of questions that we always get about magnesium. And let me know in the comments, like, which magnesium have you tried from our store? So all the types of magnesium I was talking about: magnesium replenish, mag energy, which is magnesium malate, quick magnesium, which is magnesium chloride, as well as magnesium citrate plus. All of that is available in our store. So if you're wondering why am I in this place, I'm actually in my camper van and I'm on my way to Mexico. And so that's why I pulled over, and I had a very long driving day today. And maybe that's why I got completely confused about the time zones and doing it an hour late, which is embarrassing because we sent out an email this morning saying, see you at 5 p.m. Pacific. And turns out I am in Pacific, and I thought I was in Mountain, so I had more time. But anyway, it is what it is. And so let's let me know what products are you guys using from us and what questions do you have. Let me talk about another common question that we often get is, what's the difference between progesterone, oral progesterone versus, let me just type this out as well. A difference between oral and topical progesterone. But also let's talk about Vitex. So So let me just start off by saying, the a very common first. So let me just start off maybe from the top. Is that when you start, like, you turning 40, 45, by default your progesterone is gonna start dropping, and a lot of women feel like they can would benefit from a bit of a boost of progesterone. Some women like to do bioidentical hormones right away. Other women prefer to do something more natural, right? And so that natural would mean like something like Vitex. Vitex is also known as chasteberry. In Europe, it's used as a standard treatment for low progesterone, both in women who can't get pregnant as well as women who are going through early perimenopause and want to correct that progesterone levels. Vitex was also not often discussed. It actually helps with estrogen levels as well. So, does it work for everyone? No, like it did not work for me. When I realized I was starting having low progesterone levels, I started Vitex. I tried it. My ovaries started throbbing. It just wasn't for me. So, this is where I started using bioidentical progesterone, and it worked great. Meaning, one of the ways you know that your progesterone is dropping is that your cycles are going to get shorter. So instead of, for example, having 28 days, you suddenly start dropping to 26 days, 24 days, because your luteal phase becomes a lot shorter. And then with that comes a lot of sleeping problems. And for a lot of women, it's like a sense of anxiety, restlessness, right? And so then topical progesterone can be super helpful. And it definitely, in my case, my cycles started getting shorter and I couldn't sleep. So the topical progesterone helped a lot. And we have that, of course, in our store. But then, like about a year ago, about the same time as now, it stopped working. Like I started having sleeping problems again. And that's when I discovered oral progesterone, and I will never go back, at least for now. And so I'm taking oral progesterone now. Why? Because oral progesterone will convert to GABA, and GABA works on your GABA receptors in the brain, which is the calming neurotransmitter, right? And that can be incredibly helpful for women to fall asleep. I still use the topical progesterone because it helps with all these other because oral converts most of it to allopregnanolone, to GABA, so you're not really getting all the other benefits in other parts of the body, right? So like the breast tissue has progesterone receptors, is covered, bones, skin, pancreas, all of those places actually have receptors for progesterone. So I'm using the topical one, your uterus as well. So I'm using the topical one to get a benefit of the progesterone in other parts of the body. Okay. Now, in the United States, you can only get oral progesterone with prescription. It's not that difficult. And most insurance companies will cover it. Unless you had it out to Mexico, then you can get it over the counter. So that's actually how I started experimenting. Is I went to a pharmacy and got one, because in Mexico you can get a lot of prescription medications over the counter. So now, a lot of people will say, well, then do I do Vitex or do I do, progesterone? The choice is absolutely up to you. If you're in the early stages of menopause, what we are finding is that women respond a lot better to any herbal kind of interventions, where further, the more your ovaries and your uterus starts shutting down, your corpus luteum is shutting down and not producing progesterone, Vitex alone might not be enough. And this is where the oral or topical progesterone can be super helpful. So let me know in the comments what questions you might have about progesterone. This is a very common question we get from a lot of folks. And I hope that this is helpful for you just to understand the difference that you are seeing. So we have a question that came in and then says, what products do you suggest if I am in postmenopause and having problems sleeping, occasional hot flashes, fatigue, and brain fog? So it would be really good to do hormone testing, just to identify which hormones are out of control, out of balance, I should say. And one such place that we did actually a webinar with Dr. Alan Hopkins just about 3 weeks ago, was about what to test for when you're in perimenopause. And let me drop in the the URL for that is called yourlabwork.com/hormones balance, hormones with the S. And you can order the test there and see which hormones are out of balance, because then it's easier for me to answer the question of what needs to be corrected. So a lot of the time, now having said that, typically sleeping problems are due to low progesterone. And so I think trying the progesterone that we have in our store might be a good idea. The other thing is having problems, hot flashes. So hot flashes can be multifactorial. It's typically they start happening as your estrogen and progesterone start going down. So it could be that you are low on estrogen, could also be that you're low on progesterone. So it's the testing that will show it. You can try a couple of things. One is that progesterone, right? So that will, if the progesterone is the reason why you're not feeling great, then it will correct both the hot flashes and the sleeping problems. And it could be that the topical might not be enough, and you might need to work with your doctor on an oral one. But if it was me, I would start off with the topical first and see how that goes. And then the other reason why we have hot flashes is because of dropping estrogen levels. So that's not something that we have in our store in terms of a topical, a bioidentical hormone. Not yet, at least. I am thinking of bringing it in next year. But you can consider herbs. So there are some herbs that contain what's called phytoestrogens, which means that it's a natural occurring estrogens, and a lot of women have great results with it. In our store, we have a product called Estro Boost, so like estrogen boost, which contains things like Norwegian spruce, which has got, and hops, which have incredible research behind them showing reduction of hot flashes in women in postmenopause. So something to consider. Brain fog is oftentimes connected to low estrogen as well. And then fatigue can be so many different reasons. I can talk about it for a couple of hours. And so it really all depends. But I think you can start off with those things that I mentioned. And then if it's still a mystery, then I highly recommend to do hormone testing. Sarah is saying, I was on estrogen reset for a few months. I stopped and I gained weight, especially on my stomach, and I'm now taking glucomaximum, estrogen boost, and wise women balance. Are these okay? Yeah, very much okay. And let me also explain why Sarah is taking some of those things. So glucomaximus, she's taking that in order to upregulate her blood sugar levels. And so, to upregulate her insulin receptors, meaning that her insulin in her body is better equipped to sweep up all the blood sugar levels and basically get them cleaned out, right? So that they don't get deposited in the abdominal cavity, and so creating varicose, creating the fat that we absolutely do not want, which is your belly fat, right? So this is the reason why she's doing that. And then estrogen boost is to help her boost estrogen levels, of course. And then wise women's balance is all around helping you estrogen progesterone balancing. So that's a really nice protocol. Sarah, it also depends on what else is going on. I would say maybe thinking about adding some progesterone might be a really good idea, depending on your symptoms. And always, as always, I know we're talking about Black Friday here today and more about product focus, but as you know, when you follow me for a while, getting your diet dialed in, right? And this is not something you want to hear just before going into Thanksgiving. I get it, but Thanksgiving is not going to last forever. After that we're going to come out and you're going to have some time to rethink your diet, but keeping your diet really clean, anti-inflammatory, full of colors, full of, those cruciferous vegetables I always talk about, right? So all the kales and cabbages and radishes and arugula, my favorite. And then cutting out on sugar as much as possible and keeping your all sugar to 20 grams, which is 5 teaspoons a day, all including whatever it's found in the fruit. So it's not just added sugar. I'm not talking about added sugar. I'm just talking about sugar that's even found in the food. That could be a really great starting point for you. Okay. Yeah, I will. So some of you are saying you can't watch this live. Yeah. So this is going to be recorded, and I will post that later. So Rebecca is asking, what if you had a hysterectomy due to endometriosis? I'm 48. I have one ovary left. Is testing hormonal levels best to know what's going on? I would always recommend testing, especially if you have the funds for it. It's really a really, really great idea. And, Rebecca, I would also say that if you had endometriosis, Western medicine approaches things like this way, right? Like if there is a leak in a roof, I would just go and patch up. I was just gonna go and patch up the leak, right? Like as it, I was just gonna paint over the leak, I should say, instead of going like, wait a second, like where's the hole in the roof? Like maybe I should go and fix the roof, right? And so with hysterectomy is exactly the same approach. Is that the endometriosis, the endometrial tissue starts growing out of control, and so remove the uterus, right? But then two things that are not addressed: endometriosis is caused by estrogen dominance, which by removing the uterus, you're not getting rid of estrogen dominance. And number two, excuse me, is the autoimmune component, where the immune system is highly overly active, which contributes to endometrial growth. So calming down immune system, addressing estrogen dominance, excuse me, is going to be extremely helpful in you managing your endometriosis. And this is, I would say, you're 48 years old. This is where we see a lot of women having estrogen dominance manifesting in form of estrogen and cancers further down the road. So I'm not saying this to scare in any way. I'm just stating a fact that estrogen dominance can easily lead to estrogen receptor positive breast cancers, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, thyroid cancer, lung cancer in non-smokers. And so taking care of that sooner than later is going to be super important. There's a couple of things you can do to address estrogen dominance. If you know how you're metabolizing estrogens, then we have a great kit in our store called the Estrogen Reset Kit that helps you to metabolize the estrogens in a correct way, skewing them towards the safe, protective estrogens and away from the dirty estrogens. And then if you have estrogen dominance because of estrogen progesterone imbalance, because you have progesterone deficiency, then get our Progest Pure and then address it that way by raising your progesterone levels. A lot of women have both issues going on. They don't metabolize those estrogens correctly, and they have a progesterone deficiency. And so then doing two things at the same time is totally worth it. So yes, so that will be so somebody's saying my doctor tested for FSH is extremely high. So that just shows you that you are into menopause, postmenopause. Yeah. And then I'm curious, where is your, so I am the love photographer. Whether like, do you still have your period? Right. So, cause that's going to be the most telling thing. It's whether you have your period or you don't. So FSH is just, like, I've never even tested my FSH because I already knew I was in perimenopause. And then I'm still, so 16th of March, 2025 is going to be 1 year for me to be in postmenopause. And right now I'm still going through perimenopause. And so you have like 1 day of menopause, and then anything after that is postmenopause, right? And I am actually really excited to enter that chapter of my life, not just because it's no periods, but because typically after that, the hormone stuff is just like evens out, and we are just a lot more even keel. There's no that craziness of hormones fluctuations that we experience otherwise. Sean is asking, do you believe in wild yam cream work? So wild yams on its own doesn't, and if people say that it does, that's totally placebo. And placebo is powerful. That's why we test placebo versus the real thing. However, for example, our progesterone cream is derived from wild yams, but it has to be modified in the lab so that it can match the human receptor. From a wild yam itself, like the way, what is it, Frankie and what was her name? That show on Netflix. Those two, the hippie lady, right? And she starts dating a yam farmer, and then the next thing you know, they are making those arousal creams that from the wild yams. Well, that's the Hollywood version of it, but in reality, that stuff does not work on its own. It needs to be converted in the gym. Sean is asking, how old am I? I'm 51 and I'm turning 52 in just in a month, in a month's time. Oh, thank you. Somebody's saying I look amazing. I don't particularly feel amazing. I've driven today. I left today at 7 o'clock in the morning. I got here late in the evening, and I have zero makeup on. Just a lot of strong lights on me, which is not great before going to bed. But thank you. I try. I try to inspire you with my own lifestyle and choices, just to show you that you can live through perimenopause with grace and ease, and it doesn't have to be crazy as long as you take care of yourself. And so, maybe to some degree, I succeed there. I hope. Battleham is asking, is it possible that your hormones can go down and back up without supplements? I believe that it's possible. And one reason why that can happen, for example, if somebody has been experiencing a lot of stress, hormones can be hugely compromised, and then after that rebound through a reduction of stress or doing breath work or doing meditation, whatever, somatic experiencing, all of those things I absolutely believe that is possible. Genevieve is asking, are the products you suggest safe if there is uterine and breast cancer in my family? So actually, it's not just safe, but it's actually recommended. So for those of you who are maybe new to this community, let me also say that a big part of the reason why I do this work, and especially on the estrogen dominant side of things, is because I've inherited genes from both sides of my family that make me very, very high risk for estrogenic cancer. So both sides of my family have passed me something called the COMT, C-O-M-T, COMT gene. So I have a very slow COMT gene. That means that I metabolize estrogen extremely poorly. And that explains why I tend to be very estrogenic or estrogen dominant very easily. And that also explains why both sides of my family have seen women passing away from various estrogenic cancers on both my mom's side. All my aunts have passed away from breast cancer, uterine cancers. My dad's side, for example, his sister passed away from ovarian cancer, and it runs in the family. And so that's part of the reason why I started doing this work for myself, just to understand what's happening and why am I metabolizing these estrogens so poorly. What can I do to make it better? So when you say uterine and breast cancers, majority of breast cancers are estrogen receptor positive breast cancers, or hormonal cancers. They are not genetic cancers like the HER2 or BRCA1, BRCA2. And so supporting your body to metabolize estrogen correctly is paramount. I take the estrogen reset kit pretty much on a daily basis. And for those of you who also have a lot of breast issues, our Happy Sisters kit has been designed for that. So the supplement in the Happy Sisters kit is exactly meant for helping you metabolize estrogen correctly, and then moving all the lymphatic system in the breast. And then most uterine cancers are estrogenic cancers as well. So yeah, so again, like for those of you who are experiencing estrogen dominance, which you can and oftentimes do experience in perimenopause and menopause, it's very confusing. I know, because you're like, how can I be estrogen dominant when I'm like, my estrogen is dipping, right? It's dropping. That doesn't make any sense. And I totally get that. I wish there was a better name for it. But actually, if you think about it, women who are the highest demographic for breast cancers, those are women who have actually very low estrogen, right? And because they're deep into menopause, postmenopause, and they are in their 60s, mid 50s, 60s, 70s is where breast cancer is most prevalent, and is also the lowest estrogens on their lives, right? So it's not just the amount of estrogen that matters, it's how that estrogen gets metabolized. That's number one. Number two, how that estrogen is balanced out with progesterone. So for somebody like Genevieve, I would say two most important things is that use stuff to support your liver, because that's when the metabolism of estrogen happens. We do have a kit called the Estrogen Reset Kit that helps you metabolize estrogen correctly. And we also have a lot of things for the liver. So if you just look at our website, wellnow.com, there's a lot of stuff that you can fine for liver support. My favorite are with liver and digestive bitters, things that you squirt in your mouth and it tastes so good, and it's got all the amazing herbs that help your liver do the work. And then the other side of the equation is to add progesterone to oppose that estrogen. Even though the estrogen could be very low, it can still be dangerous, and especially if it remains unopposed. And you have to remember that progesterone drops way faster than estrogen does. So this is the reason why women a lot of times feel way better to start supplementing with progesterone, bioidentical progesterone, very soon, in order to start the reduction of symptoms. Is oral progesterone bioidentical? Yes, it can be. You just have to work with your pharmacy to get that done. The generic ones are not, but you can get a compounded. Oh, just another thing about if you guys are talking to your doctor about oral, a lot of oral ones like out of the box is, or the generic ones, are made with peanut oil, which I'm sure is GMO and just really not great. So like I got my progesterone, for example, compounded by not using any oils and is bioidentical. Yeah. Let's see. We're having a question here from Zen. I'm just going to call you Zen. What about the safety long terms of estrogen and progesterone replacement, even the bioidentical form? So, the studies so far show no longer than 10 years. And so that's looking way better than anything else that we know about. And it's the one take that women, adopt, and I'm definitely in that camp, is that it's like you do the balance between the risk and the benefit, right? And in like in my case, I'm on bioidentical progesterone, bioidentical oral and topical, right? So 2 types of progesterone. I'm on bioidentical estrogen, on DHEA, and thyroid. And a year ago I was in none of them. Sorry, I'm just only on progesterone. And so that has changed. And and I'm not willing to give up any of them because it's giving me my quality of life back. And so the question is, for a lot of women, imagine a woman who can't function, right? Because she's got so much brain fog and she's beginning to lose her mind, as in her mood swings are so severe that she's compromising all her relationships, including now she wants to divorce her husband. So now is it the husband or is it her hormones, right? She's losing her job because her brain fog is so severe. She's breaking her bones, right? Because she doesn't have enough estrogen and progesterone for the bones to remain strong, even though she's taking all the calcium. Hey, you guys, calcium is just not enough. So it's a balance between those things, right? And I feel this as a 51-year-old woman, almost 52-year-old woman, that the quality of life that I see bioidentical hormones are giving women is so profound, that I think it's a choice that women are making. And I'm definitely in that camp that will say, I will go on continuing that. Okay, do you believe an MTHFR mutation affects hormones? Absolutely, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the metabolism of estrogen. That's one of it. Is going to be impacting hormone metabolism for sure. Sean, thank you for thank you for sharing your wisdom anytime. Somebody's asking about estrogen levels tested after patch since July, and then my levels was less than 5. Don't know why. So when you say 5, like it's so I'm not gonna interpret anybody's labs here today because there's just don't and I don't know what your story here is. And then is this like, how was it tested? Saliva, urine, blood, right? And so it's I want to focus more on product questions because it's Black Friday, and so we get so many emails from you guys asking about stuff, and so I just want to address that here. Genevieve is saying I also have 2 autoimmune diseases, Sjogren's and Hashimoto's. Yeah, there you go. So very often when we have one so are you the one who was talking about the endometriosis? Is that what it is? So I'm gonna just wait for you to respond to that. And let me go over to Facebook and see whether we have any. We get so much more engagement on Instagram. It's pretty astounding. So, yeah. So, what are my thoughts on testosterone? I'm not a big fan of doing testosterone straight up. I rather recommend to do things like DHEA first, and then let the body convert to what it needs to testosterone. What kind of calcium do you recommend, and how much should you take? Okay, so let's talk about that. I actually don't recommend calcium. This is a real big miss on, again, on Western go, we've been kind of conditioned and hammered that into our heads that we need calcium to feel good. And the truth of the matter is that your bones need a lot more than just calcium, right? It needs calcium with magnesium. Magnesium also needs vitamin D3 with K1 and K2, right? So that's why, for example, our vitamin D3, that's why it contains K1 and K2. And then you also need a whole bunch of other minerals such as boron, manganese, phosphor. And so there's a lot more that goes. So that's one thing. And then on top of that, furthermore, your body needs also sufficient levels of estrogen and progesterone in order to build the bone. So estrogen builds the bone, progesterone kind of shaves the bone off, and it's a normal transition of rebuilding, shaving, rebuilding. And so both of them have, this is the reason why women who are in menopause have issues with osteopenia, osteoporosis, because our hormones start dropping. So it's a lot more complex than just calcium. And yeah, and we do have vitamin D3 in our store as well. Genevieve, are you the one who was talking about having endometriosis? I'm not a fan of testosterone because the doses can really vary from woman to woman. I feel like it's much safer to do DHEA so the body can convert it to testosterone, and do what it needs to do. What form of DHEA do you recommend? I'm a bigger fan of using topical DHEA. I want to shift gears here a little bit towards liver support. So for those of you who are on this journey, I think it will be interesting for you to just to appreciate a little bit the liver. And if you want to take advantage of some of the products in our store that talk about liver health, I think you might find this really interesting. So the liver is such an incredibly impactful organ when it comes to hormones. A lot of us know that it's like, oh, it metabolizes alcohol. And maybe some of you know that it metabolizes coffee. Well, it metabolizes everything, and hormones included. And unfortunately, when the liver is very taxed, it prioritizes other things like serious toxins. Like, for example, if you're eating non-organic food and there's a lot of pesticides or chemicals that the body needs to excrete, then the liver is prioritizing the kind of toxins that are present, and then deprioritizing hormones, right? So that's why a lot of hormonal imbalances can happen when the liver is not supported. And and some of you may want to do fasts and cleanses and whatever, and that's totally fine. I think doing that once in a while is totally great. But I'm personally more interested in, like, how do you support the liver on a daily basis? It's a little bit like, instead of doing a clean out once a year in your house, like, I think it would be really nice to have, like, a little vacuum running around every day, right? And like doing its work to keep things nice and fresh. So I just want to highlight, like, the importance of liver health in our age, and especially when it comes to so how do you know, like, your liver might need some TLC? One really simple symptom is, like, your eyes, you look slightly yellowish. They don't have, like, a sense of vibrancy, that once they had. And so a lot of interesting, like, when people do a liver detox or start really supporting the liver correctly, like, one of the things that people will say to them is like, wow, there's something so magical about you. Like, you look so refreshed and vibrant, right? And so that could be, a lot of it is to do with liver. But also, the liver also helps us to metabolize LDL cholesterol. So that's the bad cholesterol. And many of you who have done the lab testing with us through Dr. Allen Hopkins saw that your LDL cholesterol was high, right? And that can happen because of the poor liver function, but also low estrogen. So many of you also who are on thyroid medication, your thyroid meds get converted from T4 to T3. Isn't happening in the liver as well. People who are sensitive to smell. So, for example, like, in the past, smells never really hurt you or bothered you, and then now you walk into I don't know, like an aisle with like these nasty um you know dishwashing or washing detergents, and you're like, oh my god, I've got this massive headache, and you just can't. Or somebody sits next to you and they got like some really strong perfume, or they use some really strong scented products on their clothing, like dryer sheets. I'm like, please don't use these things. You go like, oh my god, it's really gives me a headache. I'm getting nauseous. So all of that can be due to poor liver function and gallbladder as well. So one of the things that is really worthwhile doing is doing a little bit of liver support. Um, and also, lastly, let me just also mention that if your liver enzymes in your complete metabolic panel, the CMP, are elevated anything above 30, so this is like ALT and AST markers for liver enzymes, if those are elevated above 30, that is a cause for concern. But a lot of times people have liver problems without those enzymes being elevated. So just FYI. We have a couple of products that I think you might want to consider and take advantage of during the Black Friday. The first one is our daily liver detox, and that contains milk thistle, which is an incredible herb. For those of you who don't know, I'm an herbalist too. I'm a certified herbalist. So that's why we're using a lot of herbs in our products. And the daily liver detox contains milk thistle, which is one of the herbs that helps to regenerate the liver. It also contains selenium, alpha lipoic acid, because they help to recirculate the glutathione. Glutathione is like Pac-Man that goes around the body just eating up all the debris. And then what happens is that you're just having the glutathione recycled, so it can be reused again. And so daily liver support is a great product. And my other favorite one is the liver and digestive bitters. They come in a little bottle. You squirt it in your mouth. We have one is before the meal. There's another one after the meal. That is a really sweet one. There's a really nice one to use as well. And we use herbs in there. They have a great efficacy for supporting your liver, but also supporting your digestion so that food doesn't sit there for a long time. It's a really nice thing to do, like before Thanksgiving, before a big meal, or at Christmas, for those of you who are celebrating, when you're having a big meal, having a couple squirts before having a big meal. I mean, that's how traditionally bitters were used, right? Like aperitifs with drinks before having a big meal, right? So prepare the digestion to receiving food and digesting it the best way possible. Genevieve is saying my liver enzymes are elevated. I have fatty liver. Yeah, so something definitely to work on. One of the things that happens with perimenopause and going into postmenopause is that the better you go prepared to it with the best health possible, excuse me, the better experience you're going to have, right? If you are going in with high blood sugar levels, a lot of issues with your liver, right? You're not sleeping well. Your diet is shit. You're having a lot of inflammatory foods. You're depending on alcohol to put you to sleep. You're depending on coffee to be carrying, or caffeine to carry you through the day, like multiple cups, right? I can guarantee you, those are the women who are going to suffer through menopause and perimenopause tremendously. And so I am such a big advocate of just really addressing all of those things as early as possible. And that way, when you get into that period, most of you are already going through it anyway. Most women don't even realize how early perimenopause starts. It starts in your 40s. It's already some changes are beginning to develop. So okay, so that's one big question that we always get. And let's see if there's any other questions that you guys have for me today. And if not, then I know this is our first day today and I messed up the hours, so I apologize again. And so if you're on our mailing list, then you will have an email going out. I think I've got 2 more lives planned. And so helping you with questions on products and just helping you decide. One of the things that you may notice is that we do have, actually, let me see if I can if I can show it to you through the system here, and that is to present. I can share my screen right here. Okay, so yeah, so okay, so we have also created these conditions categories. You can shop by conditions. So as you can see here, we have estrogen dominance, menopause, perimenopause, breast health, adrenal recovery, liver detoxification, fibroids, belly fat, blood sugar balance, inflammation support, PMS, and hot flashes right in here. And we got all the products organized for you. So for example, if you go to fibroids, we've got the fibroid kit here for you with products that specifically help to address fibroids. So use that function because I think that's super helpful. And we also launched this consult with product expert, which is an AI, and it's a pretty smart AI actually. But if you want to talk to a human at any time, then just tell us, and we will get you over to our lovely support team. All right. If there's no more questions, how do you get on with your what do you mean by mailing bloat? What does that mean? Somebody's saying I didn't have any problems until I was postmenopause. Yeah, it's what is this? Yeah, that's pretty common. That can happen as well. And that I like to say that, like, for you not to have a heart attack, like, the work has to start now. For you not to break your bones and be in osteoporosis, the work has to start now. For us not to have dementia and Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, the work starts now. For us not to break our bones when we trip and fall, the work has to start now. As you know, for those of you who follow me on social media, I'm a big fan of weightlifting and strength training. And so somebody's saying, Donna is asking, what is a sale? Well, it's Black Friday. So check out wellena.com and you will see that we have 25% off, and then we're doing a lot of nice things, including for shipping in the US. And then you guys can get a whole bunch of different guides, from sleeping guide, what testing to do, liver support, superfoods, and all of that good stuff. All right, I'll take one more question because I feel like I am needing some rest tonight. I've been driving the whole day today, and I'm about to get into Mexico. Somebody's asking, how do I get on the mailing list? Just go to wellena.com. I think it's at the bottom of our website, or just email us support@hormonesbalance.com, and the gals will add you to our list. Okay, somebody's saying, I tested my blood sugar levels in AM. Some days it's 75, others it's the 80s. What could be the reason for the fluctuations? So I think you're talking about fasting glucose, right? So the most effective way of measuring your blood sugar levels is HA1C. That gives you an average of the past 3 months of your blood sugar levels, actually. So that's a lot better measurement, as using the fasting glucose. And for those of you who are having blood sugar issues, which is, by the way, very common, as we grow older, we don't respond as well to insulin the way we used to. And so we have a lot more blood sugar circulating around the body, and belly fat is one of the ways that the body's trying to park that sugar somewhere, is in the belly, right? And so, but it also develops fat around the organs, and so that's a highly inflammatory kind of fat. That's really, really bad news. And so reducing your sugar in your diet is huge. Processed carbohydrates is another. Staying away from, or reducing as much as you possibly can, cookies, breads, pastas, and then also using, in conjunction with that, using herbs that can help to upregulate your insulin receptors, so that the body does a better job in sweeping that sugar out. We have a product called Glucomaximus that contains things like cinnamon and gymnema, And so all of those are researched and proven to show really great results with upregulating the blood sugar levels. Um, um, so when you say so many mixed messages on this topic, Sean, what are we talking about? Oh, you're talking about fasting for women? Okay. So, yeah, so I think I'm just gonna leave you with a good book to read, to get. It's called Fast Like a Girl, Dr. Mandy Peltz, and she's done, I think, an amazing job at explaining how to do fasting for women. And I agree, it's not for everyone. I remember when fasting first came out, I did the fasting version of like bulletproof coffee with like a workout, and I had like the worst day of my life. I mean, it was just horrendous. I felt weak, shaky, hypoglycemic, right? Because I was hypoglycemic, that's why I was shaky, angry, hungry, confused, brain fog, like from hell. It was horrible, and I thought I'd never do this again. But then there are so many different ways of fasting and doing different hours and different styles, and so Dr. Peltz does a really great job in summarizing that. So I highly, highly recommend that book. All right, you guys, I'm gonna be back doing lives. I don't know, I don't remember now when, but it's gonna happen. And if you're on our mailing list, then you're gonna get notified when I'm gonna go live again. In the meantime, if I haven't answered your question here, if you're doing a replay, then just email us to support@hormonesbalance.com. Let me actually pop that in here. I'm gonna do a little banner here at support we have a wonderful team of ladies who are actually going through perimenopause themselves, and so they understand this more than you would possibly imagine. Support@hormonesbalance.com. Just email us there, and then we can take care of you. I'm just gonna do quick questions on Olivia saying travel safe. Oh, thank you. Your dedication is a blessing. I've gained so much knowledge from you. Fucking do this. Thank you. Olivia, let us know, what are you getting? I'm just curious. How much natural sugars per day would you recommend? I'm a pretty much on the very low side of things. And I practice in my life as well. 20 grams, no more than 5 teaspoons a day. That includes all naturally occurring sugars. And I know it's very controversial, and I get a lot of hate mail and hate comments from a lot of people saying that I am excessively strict on sugar. But I think people who generally have those comments are generally quite addicted to sugar. And so telling an addict that you have to stop a substance, it's not gonna do well ever. So I think a lot of it is coming from there. And so I'm not just talking about added sugar. I'm talking about, look, if you do a smoothie with like a banana in it, right? And then you're having fruit in your breakfast, and then, having a bar with dates in it and stuff like that, right? Energy bar before going to work out. Like, this can easily go up to 40 grams a day, easily, right? And so do you think that your body does not recognize, or you're putting like heaps of honey into your coffee or your tea? I mean, that sugar, as much as is way better than, say, other forms of sugar, to the body doesn't really make that much of a difference. It still perceives it as sugar. And as we go through perimenopause, the body's really having a hard time with sugar. That's why so many of you are having weight issues. So many women are having weight issues and are in total denial that sugar is a large contributor to that. It's not the only contributor, but it's a large contributor. So please don't hate me for saying that. I'm just telling you the science of things. Yeah, I have 2 dogs behind me. Yes, we are traveling together. They're already asleep because we had a very long drive day, so they are completely exhausted, and I need my rest as well. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight and your lovely questions. And I'll be back in a few days. And in the meantime, happy shopping.